it working? Yes, yes, better. So if you allow me, I will start by the end. I will start by say thank you to the team who have organized this day, because after, I'm always afraid that when it's finished, everybody is going around and going away, going drink, and I think it's important. So I want to thank you, Expertise France and AFD team, in particular, Aurélie, Juliette, that you have seen a lot, Jules and Ronan's team, but lots of other people have been involved in this day, but I really wanted to thank them. Also, I wanted to thank all the panelists, because you are quite numerous. You take some time for this day, and the debates were really, all interventions were really meaningful, and it was really, really interesting. For those who haven't remarked, there is also an exhibition of pictures on the 13th floor from artists that are using AA to make their works. So if you're not in a hurry and you haven't seen that, you can just have a look. And maybe I will also thank our translator. I don't know if it will be sensible to my thinkings, but even if we had some jokes sometimes on the translation, it was quite impressive, as François said just before. I think for this day, we confirmed that this subject was really strategic, and we had very passionate debates. And as Carla Montesi said at the beginning of the day, AA, it's no longer an abstract concept. We spoke about data, LLM models, infrastructure, health, how to help mother in pregnancy, education, multilingualism, and even how to monitor the planet. So it was quite large and quite diverse. We spoke a lot on the human-centric approach, learned the difference between AA for green and green for AA, and the role, we discussed the role of private sector and public one. And as we just said, we had a really passionate discussion on where to put the cursor between strong regulation and no regulation. So now we have seen that we have really lots of challenges. So how to change mindset, data collection, multilingualism, and I cannot say everything. But right now I would like to know, because I have two very high-level colleagues around me, and to know what. Maybe I will start with you, Lancina, so I can stop you to give the floor to Jean if you're too passionate. What do you keep from this day? What are the main subjects that really you feel that we should keep in mind in order to go forward?
Thank you for giving me the floor for this closing. I really keep two things in mind. We're here for the AI, but we said AI for sustainability and inclusiveness, right? Then we had AI ambitions. I learned a lot. We went from the technology, we listened to the geospatials, we also listened to the regulatory environment. Should we regulate? I'm not an anti-regulation. I say regulation for development, because regulation for regulation does not make any sense, because usually innovation precedes regulations. Then we really want to know, in the international collaborations, what should we do? Where is the EU going from here? In fact, my life's question actually should guide us to see to where we're going. We want to promote. I mean, the question was, how do we promote the multilingualism? Because we believe in the African context, there is a huge gap. More we advancing in technology, bigger the gap is, because the literacy level is very low, and digital illiteracy level is even higher. Then how do we close those gaps? Maybe it's time for us to look at the EU-Africa collaborations in terms of funding to say, you know what, it's about creating a job, then with the GovStack things, with DPI, DPG, using Team Europe, D4D, IDEEP, then we need to be focusing on how do we create a different layer, a new layer, which will tackle the questions of inclusivity. Which means, yes, we're being assisted technically from international development partners. We're rolling out government services. Then there's an implication of inclusivity. Then let's have a layer to say, if you're deploying this service, then we need to take into account that it has to be inclusive. Then there will be a fund which will be pushed into our startup competing entities to develop applications like India, having an API for, the illiterate people, the lowest illiterate people to be able to access service as a human right. That is also a direction. So I'm going to pause here because I know he has something to say. Yeah. So I learned a lot, from geospatial, from technical level all the way to what we just talked about. That's what I learned. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's, AI can be lots of opportunity, but only if we take into account inclusivity.
Yes.
And sustainability.
Yeah, because if we are going human-centric, and our theme, Smart Africa, was created on 5 manifestos. The first one, to put the ICT at the center of a social economic development. Mm-hmm. In fact, we didn't debate this here. The digital economy or digital transformation contribute a lot higher in terms of CO2 emission than even the airline industry. But with the digital transformation also, it has the means to cut down faster the emission. So if we are in these digital transformations, then we have to be, in Africa, we cannot afford not to be inclusive. Otherwise, we will be trailing forever. So for us to leapfrog, we truly believe that the AI is an opportunity, not only for Africa, even for Europe, to take back the positions of leadership in terms of data economy. Mm-hmm. That's how we have to look at it. Of course, take into account ethical rules, privacy rules, data governance rules, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree. So now, Jean, what's the main point that you want to keep after speaking about after Lancina? It's not so easy, so it's a bit a trick. But what's the main points you want to keep from this day and what you want to put forward?
Okay. First of all, thank you very much, and indeed difficult to speak after Lancina, but I have a few ideas. First of all, thank you very much to Expertise France and the team of AFD and for the invitation and for organizing it. It was very well organized. And as you know, this is a series of events we organize as development agencies as part of the D4D Hub. There was one in Brussels last month, and myself, I was in Tallinn with SDEF in September last year. And that's where my whole thinking started to shift. And one of the speeches I heard at the time was from the global director of IBM, who was there at Tallinn, global director for public services. And he told me the country investing now the most in AI in the world is Saudi Arabia. And I was asking why Saudi Arabia, and you would think China, you would think the US, you would think other countries, but I'd say Saudi Arabia is trying to basically diversify their economy after the oil and gas, and thinks that they can have a worldwide leadership using AI because it is an industrial revolution. And I believe it is. We spoke about digital revolution, but actually AI is accelerating it, and it's a revolution. So for us, as a development agency, we cannot just have an evolution of the way we do. We also need a revolution. And for me, this is the main message I want to have for my teams and for our partners. It's just not adaptations to what we do and kind of adapt business as usual, but we really need to rethink the way we do things. I liked what AFD, Thomas Moliono, the innovation director at AFD, said this morning, saying that Europe and Africa actually are not the biggest investor right now in these topics. I mentioned Saudi Arabia, but there are other countries investing much more. And the technological leadership is not here. It's in other countries? And if we don't have this technical or technological leadership, will we be left behind? So for me, the first message I hear today, and I heard already before, there is an urgency for Africa and Europe to really invest into those. And on both the threats and the opportunities. On the threats, you mentioned the regulations. I think on that, Europe is doing quite well, and this is maybe our competitive advantage as well on inclusivity. But on the opportunities, if I look at within Enable, I hear a lot of skepticism sometimes. Yeah, education, yeah, really, can we really change the way we do education? Yes, we can. Congo, if you look at the demographic trend in Congo, if you want to provide education to all the kids, you would need now, right now, to build a school every day. It's impossible. And to train the teachers, to pay the teachers is impossible. So to respond to inclusivity, AI is the solution. If you want children in Congo to be literate, in a way, AI is the solution. I was amazed, my 8-year-old daughter speaks English. And she never learned English with us. And we were surprised, and actually she learned on an app. And she doesn't learn English at school in Brussels, but she can speak English, basically by using an app. So I think language can be, with a good AI and a good teaching methods. Of course, you will tell me you need a phone, you need a connection, you need a SIM card, but it goes very quick. I lived myself 6 years in Tanzania. At the time, Airtel and Vodafone were developing M-Pesa and other technologies. It went very, very fast. And still no, somebody said here in Paris you have 5Gs, but I can tell you, you go to the countryside in France or in Belgium, you have sometimes less 5Gs than you have in some regions in Africa. So we need to be optimistic, but we really need, for me, there is a sense of urgency. So this is the first message I got today. The second message is for us as the development sector. We need to change everything. So we're sorry to say, but we speak about the EU D4D hub. The way we do international cooperation is still very much, sometimes a bit paternalistic and on a kind of a charity business. We do it on the side with a limited budget. We need to be humble. The money we invest for international development, it's peanuts compared to international investments. I used to say the global budget for international cooperation, all countries together, is smaller than the health budget of the UK. So we need to be realistic that we are just a seed to do something else. And so for me, we need to put international cooperation at the center of our own industrial revolution in Europe, and to use the opportunity with this revolution to reinvent the relationship between Europe and Africa. I mentioned Africa because it's where Enable is the most focused on, but it could be other regions of the world. So for me, this is something I had in mind already to change the way our model of development cooperation, but I think AI is accelerating the need to do it differently. It needs to involve the private sector much more, and that's part of the Global Gateway Initiative. It needs to involve other DGs than DG INPA, which is, of course, the lead for international cooperation, but, of course, other DGs from the European Commission needs to be involved, as much as in Belgium, the responsibility for international cooperation should not be only the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or the Ministry of International Cooperation. It should be other line ministries, health, education, as well, or environment should be also involved in the story. And the third reflection I have is about ourselves as part Expertise France, Enable, the ecosystem of development cooperation. It's clear that we cannot work alone. And that's why I'm here today. And I wanted to be here because we cannot have our own projects individually and working in silos. We need to put our energy, our financial means, our ideas together. And that's why I really believe in this Team Europe spirit and this Team Africa spirit with Smart Africa. It's a collective effort. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's also it's an opportunity for the countries, but it's also an opportunity for cooperation, if I understand well, because with this new subject, which is not so new, but it's quite new. It's maybe the way, the chance to reinvent the way we are working together, and as you say this morning, to catch up together. So, which one was? I was just asking about, because we are both from operators, and about sustainability. How can we put sustainability? Because, as we said this morning, we cannot carry on working on a one-shot project and without. So, how can we put sustainability in the heart of our actions on this subject?
First is ownership. I mean, the ownership is from our partners' countries, but I'm reassured because what I hear when I discuss with Sheila was in Benin last week together with Koundoul from INPA and Rémi Rioux from AFD, and we met with the president of Benin, President Talon, and he's very interested in taking the lead in this kind of initiatives. And so the first condition for sustainability is the local leadership, and for us to adapt and to come with an offer that meets the need. Second thing is what we do at Enable, I think Expertise France as well, and the D4D. We work with Senegal and with Rwanda in building their own AI national strategy or national plan. So that starts with that, working on systems and not just a project, but working to build the regulatory infrastructure and environment for AI to develop. And so deprojectize in a way international development. It's a trick because people want quick results, but if you work on system, you won't get the results after 3 years, and you need to stay engaged on the long term. And that's my other point for sustainability. Yeah, is stop shifting priorities, and that's a difficulty for us as agencies because we depend on political shift, and the same for our partner countries because you change government and sometimes the priorities are shifting. So we should, in a way, lobby and advocate for, if we believe that it is indeed a revolution, that it needs long-term approach and not just short-term adjustments.
And co-construction.
Of course, co-construction.
That's what I was going to say. Co-creation is the key. Yeah, for sustainability, it's a co-creation. And the new partnership win-win with Africa today, it is not just international donors, there's donors for sustainability. In fact, those donations or those technical assistance can be looked at as a seed for a sustainable market. And I say it everywhere. If we all look at Africa because there is a continent is written on it, Africa, right? If there was a continent that you don't know is called Africa, it's just a continent, you see it's 1.4 billion, and you hear about an opportunity. Will you go there or not? Of course you will. Mm-hmm. So just let's look at Africa that way. So for sustainability, the new way of looking at things, yes, not enough investments into these. Investment need to be geared towards sustainable things. It must be a subcomponent of the whole issue. Of course, take into account political term change, but we need to have a structured environment that we have a goal, we're working towards it. And this can only be done with a co-creation. The one way doesn't work anymore. Thank you.
So how do we run our talk for this co-creation?
Well, we run our talk by starting signing, first of all, here. We run it by, first of all, let's go to the concrete stuff. Sign up to be, between Expertise France, Smart Africa, to have an AI advisory group, and have that group, of course, to enlarge it. I will let you talk through it. It's not just Smart Africa. It's to be able to enlarge it, to continue the discussions, to implicate all the stakeholders. It's only by working together that we can get there. And I will give you an African analogy. If you were to cross a river, cross it with a crowd. If you cross it alone, you will be eaten by a crocodile.
Yeah. If I can add something on making concrete, there was a session this afternoon on trust, and of course there's a trust of data that you get and trust of information you get, but there is also the trust between partners and international cooperation that's often an issue. Was somebody said this morning, why GIZ is interested in helping me in that, they have an interest. I think to overcome this trust issue, we should overcome the idea that it's just the need of one country. Actually, Europe and Africa both need to invest and co-invest into that. So in a way, if GIZ or Expertise France or Enable is working with, let's say, Senegal on their AI Act, it's not just a charity act. Actually, we can learn as much as Senegal is learning, but Senegal has to recognize that it's not development cooperation anymore, but a co-investment in our common future. And one advantage that Africa has compared to Europe, actually there are two. One is the youth, and in a way a population that is digital savvy when they are in the cities, or could potentially be digital savvy because they are young. And your population is aging, and that's an issue for us to adapt. And the second advantage that Africa has in comparison to Europe is less regulations. In a way, sorry to say, but that can be an advantage. It's easier to have a new regulation from scratch sometimes than to adapt existing regulations. Because when you adapt existing regulations, you basically adapt. And so you make an evolution rather than a revolution. And I believe we can learn actually much more than we think from what's happening with all those revolutions on the African continent.
And more innovation.
Absolutely.
So, yes, we will sign because we have decided not to stop here. So we have decided to set up an advisory group to continue to carry on the reflection about and how to implement and to work together. So today we'll just sign between Smart Africa and Expertise France, but we count on Enabel and on Jean we count on you to bring on this group other partners from EU and on Smart Africa side to bring other partners from Africa. So with several brains, we say we're smarter. So we'll do that.
Absolutely.
Oh. You have up with Expertise France pen, but you can have, if you want, a neutral one. We have one here.
I feel like the civil officer in a wedding. You know, I'm observing, but there is no witness. I'm the mayor of the city.
Yes. You should bring the wedding ring.
So, but I'm not in white, so does it work?
Congratulations.
Thank you so much for everybody for staying, for coming, for staying, for your contribution. I learned a lot. I cannot say I understand everything because sometimes it was quite technical, but I really like that because it means that it's not something that was on the like very general. It was really in deep, I think. So I was very interested and very happy of this day. Thank you to everybody, and see you soon. Somewhere in Africa, maybe next time we can do that.
I think we'll come to Kigali, huh? Smart Africa for.
Kigali?
Absolutely, yes. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Anytime. We have our next Transform Africa Summit, August 28 to 30th in Nairobi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's meet in Nairobi then.
Yeah, it will be a good, happy ending for the summer vacation. So.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.